Hi, this is DCS, Digital Combat Simulator, and this is the new A-18C Hornet that released in 2018. Now I've only had this plane for a few days, but I'm going to do a cold and dark start. This is not a guide for a real-life pilot, and this is not the correct procedure. But if you just want to have fun with the plane, you've only got it for a few hours, and you want to know how to get started, you may find this guide useful. The main objective is to have fun. So the first thing we are going to do is push left shift on the keyboard and F10 on the keyboard to turn off labels. You can see that the canopy is open. To jump into the plane, we push F1. Now push Alt C on the keyboard and you can look around. Push Alt C on the keyboard again and you'll get the cursor. We want to look down towards here. Now here are 3 lights that are for the internal lights. We're just going to turn them on. Left click on this button. Keep the left mouse button held down and move the mouse upwards and it will spin around. Do that with all 3 of these buttons. Now we're going to deal with the canopy. Over here is an open word. We're just going to click in the black space that is next to open. Hold down the left mouse button and do not let go. Once the canopy is closed, we can then go back down to here. Now here is radar. We're going to right click on this button once, right click on it again to put it in operational. Then we're going to right click on this one and put it to ground. Now the next step we're going to do is we're going to try to get these displays ready. We're going to right click on this once and right click on it again today. We're going to get this display ready, right click on this once and then right click on it again today. Down here is the moving map. We're going to click on this button here, left click on it, hold down the left mouse button and move the mouse upwards. Now you have an overhead HUD, which is here. To turn that on, we go to this switch here. And in between norm and day, you left click on this button, move the mouse upwards and spin it around. Now, once that is done, we're going to go over to here. We're going to turn the emergency brake off by left clicking on it. So it should be that way. That means the brake is off. Up here is the flaps. We want to put the flaps to half. We're just right clicking on it once to put to half. Once you're in the sky, you can put it to auto and you just right clicking it once more. Over here is the throttle. There's 2 buttons here. We're just going to move them both around by left clicking on it and moving it all the way around, and left click on this one and moving it all the way around. That is for the external lights. Over here is something for BOGS. We're just going to left click on it once and then put it into the on position. Once all that's done, we can then go back over to here. Now this is the normal first step, I understand. But what we're going to do is we're just going to go to the battery and we're going to left click on it once and then we're going to right click on it twice. And we can see the battery meter changes. Now we've got a switch here where it says safe. We're just going to left click on that once so that it's armed. Now we're going to go back over to here and we've got APU. We're going to left click on this once. The left click. And that is now in the on position. We're waiting for the ready light to come on. You can look over here in just a moment for when we start the engine. So we've got the green light and we're just going to left click on it once now for the left engine. And if we go over to here, we can see this number moving along. Now we want to put both throttles to the idle position. To do that, we're just going to push left, To do that, we're just going to use right shift and home. And then we're going to put Alt and home. And that will put both the left and the right to the idle position. So the modal now will start the whole way up. We'll just give it a moment. We can see the interior lights of the plane now turning on. And you can also hear the sound of the engine. Now the displays are starting up. Now up here is the warning sign. You can click on it with the left mouse button, or a much easier way is just to push N on the keyboard and it removes the caution. So we'll just go back down here and we're going to now right click on it to do the right engine. Now over here, we've got something saying bit failures. If we push this button here, menu, and then we push menu again, we have something over here called FCS. Left click on that once, and you'll see there's X's everywhere. What we're going to do is we're going to go back over to here. We're going to left click on the rudder button once, and we're going to click on the reset button once. If we go back over here, you'll notice all the X's are now gone. We're going to set up this menu here, so we're just going to click on the HUD. So we've got the HUD mirrored between those two. And over here, we'll just left click on the menu and we can click on menu again and we can click on the engine. So we'll leave our engine information there. So now if we have a look, we've got RPM the same on both sides. And we've got our moving map. Now, the next thing just to be aware of is your nose wheel. Over here, it says NWS. If you push A on the keyboard, it seems to lock the nose wheel. If you push S on the keyboard, it brings back the nose wheel control. And if you hold down the nose wheel or the S button on the keyboard, it goes to high. Let go of the S, high goes. Push down the S, high comes back up. That lets you turn much more sharply when you're on an aircraft carrier or just if you need to turn very sharply. So now we're going to put up a little bit of throttle. Now if you haven't worked out how to set up your throttle, I'm going to show you. Hit escape on the keyboard and go to adjust controls. Under adjust controls, you've got axis assigned. Left click on that. Scroll down until you can find thrust, THRUST. And in here, for whatever joystick you have, I'm just using that Logitech Extreme 3D Pro. You're just left clicking in this area and then move your actual slider that you want to use for the thrust. So I'm just moving it and you'll see it comes up automatically on the key button. Click OK and that is set up. You can just click OK again and you're back. So if you're having trouble with that, that's going to help tremendously. Now if you don't have a throttle control, you can push the plus and negative buttons on the numlock pad of your keyboard and that will do the same thing. So we're going to move the throttle up just a little bit. Now you'll notice the plane will start moving. To use brakes and to stop, you can push W on the keyboard. So I'm just going to push W and you can see the plane comes to a stop. If I push F2, you can see the plane pushing W. Now, to control the nose wheel, you can use Z and X on the keyboard. So you can just push Z and X on the keyboard and you'll find the plane will turn around. You can also use your joystick if you had it set up with that as well. So we're just going to quickly move ourselves over to where the runway is so we can get ready for takeoff. They've done a really amazing job with this. And if you do have any interest in this plane, I'm sure you would enjoy purchasing it. So we're just going to go over this way. I have found that this plane is a lot easier than the others to taxi around in. If you're wondering what your speed is, well, when you're in the air, this is your speed. Try and zoom in. This is your speed and this is your altitude. Down here it shows G's. So we're almost up to the runway. I'll hold short just about here. Now, there's no one else in the game world, so I don't really have to look out for other planes. But we're just going to now accelerate to put us onto the runway. Now, I understand this plane takes off in afterburner mode. So we just put it out onto the runway, line ourselves up with it, and then you can just push A on the keyboard to turn nose wheel steering off, and then just push the accelerator to full with the thrust. Push N on the keyboard. You want to pull back at about 160. Push G on the keyboard immediately. And once you're in the air, quickly go back down to here and just make sure that the flaps are on auto. Right click on that. And then you're in the sky. To use weapons with the plane, we quickly go over to here where it says arm. We right click on that. Now, if you push left shift and X on the keyboard, you have guns. Push space on the keyboard, you can now shoot. Push left shift and S on the keyboard, you now have missiles. Push space and you can fire missiles. You can see our missile going there. See our missile going there. We've got very, very fast, very, very quickly, 693. To slow down, you can push Shift B on the keyboard and Control B on the keyboard for the air brake. See what it's just seen in the back of the plane? Just Control B and Shift B brings the air brake up and down. Very, very useful. So we'll just do a quick rotation and then come in for landing. Bring the plane around. We can see over there is the airport. So we've shown some basics with the weapons, how to get into the sky, how to do a cold and dark start. I would suggest that when we're landing, we would keep the nose wheel steering off. I have been able to land it with it on, but I presume they don't do that. Then once on your ground, you can push W on the keyboard again to brake. Now I understand these planes do not have a reversed thrust. So you just need your air brake and your wheel brakes to slow the plane down. With movement of the throttle, I would always move it a little bit in advance of when you need it, because it seems to lag a little bit behind. I presume the real plane does that in real life. But yeah, just be aware of that. So you always want to be giving inputs before you're actually needed. Maybe put the input down, then put it back, and then see what the result is. So you can see we're on the ground. I'm just going to hold W on the keyboard. W, W, W. And we can taxi off. And we're back at the airport. So that's now a takeoff, a landing, cold and dark start, some weapons usage. And if you want to learn more, there's heaps of videos out there showing the correct procedure. The plane handles just amazingly. The graphics are absolutely gorgeous. And certainly do not be intimidated by the complexity. Hopefully I've inspired you to learn more. And I also hope you give the plane a go and have a really enjoyable day. We've got the plane stationary. If you just want to put the parking brake on, all we're going to do is push right control and P on the keyboard. And the plane will stop moving. And push F2 on the keyboard to jump to the external view. And that's it. Thank you for watching.